So, next up, I am equally excited to introduce this next keynote speaker, Michael C. Bush. Michael is a dear friend, mentor figure, my former entrepreneurship professor here at Mills College. He was my first boss out of my MBA program, and now my husband has the pleasure of calling him boss. One of these days, Michael, you might deserve like a life-size portrait or some sort of statue in the house. We just appreciate you and the work that you're doing for the world. So I'm going to give a quick bio in regards to your professional background. Michael is CEO of Great Place to Work, the global research and analytics firm that produces the annual Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For list, the world's best workplaces list, the 100 best workplaces for women list, the best workplaces for diversity list, and dozens of other distinguished workplace rankings around the world. Driven by a love of business and unwavering commitment to fair and equitable treatment, Michael joined Great Place to Work as CEO in 2015, bringing 30 years of experience leading and growing organizations. This includes serving as CEO of Tetra Tech Communications, which he grew from 40 million to 300 million in revenue. Michael's a former member of President Obama's White House Business Council and a founding board member of the private equity seed fund Good Jobs, which invests in small inner city businesses. Thank you, Michael. I welcome you to the stage.
Thank you very much, Carrie. And it's an honor to be here. And I'm just waiting to hire your children. That's who's next. I'm going to hire your children and keep this thing going. And also was inspired by Uma's comments, just her view of the world and the approach, and also just the transformation mindset that it's going to take huge change. And so I was inspired by that. And the DJ got us going for sure. So I'm happy to be here and hope to share some ideas that'll be helpful for all of you. If you're entrepreneurs, I am too. If you're working in companies, I understand that. But just hopefully, what we all need to do is get smarter and be more informed as we go through the journey so that we can support ourselves, our families, and build healthier communities. So this is the mission at Great Place to Work, to help make every place a great place to work for all. So regardless of where the person is, sitting on a park bench with a phone, sitting on the edge of a bed while feeding a child, it doesn't matter. That should be a great place to work for all. And we define great in the following ways. Great means trust, respect, fairness, and credibility. These are the things that have to be true for there to be pluralism. That we have to have trusting relationships that are respectful for all, and people are treated fairly and equitably, and people are honest as they communicate with each other. Great means diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So you can't be great without these things. People should be able to see themselves at all levels of an organization, or as they look around the table, as Uma described. And equity means equity of representation, equity of opportunity, which is job growth, equity of pay, two people doing the same work getting paid the same amount, and equity of well-being. Everyone's physical health, mental health, financial health, as well as for their families, should be cared for by the employer or the group that they work with. So that's the comprehensive definition. The most important word here is equity. Great means empathy. And for us, it's empathy is an action word. That is, you learn about others who might be different than you, which is kind of everybody. You are moved by what you learn and inspired to want to improve things for them. So we're talking about healthy work environments, healthy connections in community where people are trying to make things better for others. If you're not trying to really take action and make things better, then it's sympathy, which is really useless, particularly in the workplace. And empathy and great means being purpose driven. So our DJ talked about her purpose. That's it. Without a purpose, people aren't going to change, and everybody needs to change. So being purpose driven, know why you're here, and hopefully finding partners in the community or partners at work who have the same kind of purpose that you have. And that kind of creates it's like the fertilizer and the energy, the source, the electricity that enables us to create an environment that is a high trust environment, and it's fair and equitable. And we say for all. Workplace should be a great place to work if you have very little hair. It should be a great place to work if you have gray hair. It should be a great place to work if you have uniquely beautiful hair. And it should be a great place to work if, because of what you believe in, you choose to cover your uniquely beautiful hair. And it should be a great place to work if you're disabled and the way you propel yourself down the street causes your uniquely beautiful hair to move in a uniquely beautiful way. So we mean for all, for everyone. And because we're an analytics company, which means we survey employees and find out what's going on, and we survey over 10 million employees every year, over 200,000 employees every week, over 10,000 companies every year in every industry on earth, in over 140 countries, it enables us to get analytics. And so I just want to share a few analytics points to let you know what it's like to be at a place that is a great place to work. You'll survey a place and 8 out of 10 people will say, we can be ourselves here, which means they don't have to change when they walk through the door. They don't have to change when they get on the Zoom or the WebEx. They can be their full selves. They don't have to hide anything about themselves. People say our work has special meaning, which means you're doing work that's aligned with your purpose. Somehow your personal purpose is being fulfilled based on the work you do. At a great place to work, 80% of the people feel that way. That people feel like they're making a difference here. It's more than profit. It's more than EBITDA. It's more than cash flow. It's more than market share. You're actually feeling like you're making some kind of a difference. At a great place to work, more than 8 out of 10 people feel that way. And people feel good about how the company impacts the community. You can't say you care about people and not be doing active things to make the environment better. There's a disconnect between those two things. So we measure these things to know what it's like to be a great place to work, to inspire leaders to do the work required to create a great place to work. This is probably the most important metric, whether or not you feel like you're cared for and whether or not you feel that you care for people around you. If either of those things aren't true, then it's impossible to have diversity, equity, inclusion, and a sense of belonging. And you have things like this where we take a look at companies that are great on a relative basis to those that aren't across all industries, and you find that a great place to work has half the attrition rate, half the great resignation experience than a place that isn't. So it pays. You find that in terms of well-being, places that are a great place to work have employees having a sense that the employer cares about them and their families in terms of physical, mental health, and financial health, that it's their responsibility, and they're creating a place that's psychologically and emotionally safe. So we measure these things. And we think a great place to work should be making money. A place that isn't making money is a place that's going out of business. That's not a great place to work. So we track financial returns to make sure that people know how you treat people actually pays. But how come when people like this show up at a workplace, they're treated this way? With all of that, those facts and all of that data of what can happen when you create a workplace that's fair and equitable for all, why aren't more companies doing it? This is the challenge we face every day. You would think everybody would want to do it. Everybody doesn't want to do it because of this word, fear. People have a fear of change, and people have a fear of people who are different than them and make them feel uncomfortable. People should fear things like this, but people shouldn't fear this woman. But some people do, just because they're different. And so this is the underlying problem that we're all trying to face. And so what is it that we can do about this in terms of trying to get the change that's needed and the kind of change that Uma was describing? We have to have less of this. And when you have less of that, the thing that eliminates fear is whether or not a person feels respected by the person that they work for. So for all you entrepreneurs out there, it's about whether or not people who work for you feel like you respect them and you care about them. Well, if you don't care about their physical health, their mental health, and their financial health, they probably don't feel like you respect them. So this is an important feature, something that we always want to be mindful of. You want to communicate on an honest and transparent way. When you aren't doing these things, then respect falls, and so does trust. And you want to be fair. You can have a leader who clearly shouldn't be leading people, but we survey the people who work for them, And they'll say, you know what, it's a great place to work. And we'll go, how can this be a great place to work? Because your leader is clearly disrespectful. And they'll say, yeah, he treats everybody with equal disrespect. What people don't like is when a leader treats some people one way and other people a different way. Consistency is really, really important. And that respect, credibility, and fairness equals trust. Without trust, you cannot have the world that Uma was describing. You cannot have a great place to work for all. And when there isn't trust, that's when we have this battle and this tension and this power being overused and a manipulative culture where some people are doing great and some people aren't. When you have places like that, there's a low level of trust. It's all about this thing. And where there's trust, there's no fear. So when fear is present, really hard to have trust. And again, great means these things, which means people have to feel safe. They have to feel like they can be themselves. And so we measure emotional, psychological, and physical safety. We happen to measure these things, but you all can feel these things. You know when you're in a place where it doesn't feel like you're really welcomed. When you're in a place where you're the only one who looks like you do. Or you're in a place where people who look like you are at the lower levels of the organization. Nobody who looks like you is at the top. And no one seems to be caring about you or people who look like you. These are all things that lead to an erosion of trust because we just don't feel safe. We feel like we can't really be who we are. And when you don't feel like you can be who you are, you don't produce new ideas that lead to innovation for the company. You aren't willing to adapt to changes that the company needs to support a different way of working and support new customer demands. The business pillars start to decay when people don't feel safe. Google did a study, the seminal study on high performance teams about a decade ago using our data. And at the end, they said it's all about emotional and psychological safety. That's what drives high performance. So there's nothing more important. And if you don't have emotional and psychological safety, you don't have trust. And when you don't have trust, you cannot have diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It's just not possible. So transformation, to me, that's what Uma's talking about around pluralism, a new way of working, a new way of being, a new way of connecting, and the road forward. She was inspiring in her message because the past is not going to get us there. The past behaviors aren't going to get us there. There are a lot of leaders I deal with all the time who say, boy, I just want to go back to 2019. And I go back to 2019 and 2018. They weren't that great for a whole lot of people. For some people, they were great. I don't want to go back to 2019 or 2018. I remember a lot of things about 2018 and that were not great for me or people who look like me. So I'm talking more about transformation here. And what is it that we could do to really move forward in a different way? And I think the future of work is, in the end, 25 years from now, the companies who are winning, doing really well, and taking care of customers and financially doing well, one of two things is true. They're a monopoly. That's one way to win. And there certainly will be those, as there are today. And monopolies have so much power, they can actually treat people with disrespect and still survive. But luckily, there won't be all monopolistic companies. And so if you aren't, the future of work is whoever has the best talent is going to win. And to have the best talent, you have to have the best people managers. And you cannot get the best people managers or have the best people managers if they all look the same. It's statistically not possible. If you look at one demographic group, you basically have a normal distribution curve in terms of talent. And if you have all of the same demographic group leading your company, you have mediocre people. It's statistically a fact. There's no demographic group that just has all super smart, capable people in it. Everybody has winners, average people, and lower performers. So the key in the future of work is to be getting the top talent from every demographic group on earth and all their intersections. That's who's going to win. And this change is slowly beginning. There are companies who are beginning to figure this out. And those are the companies that are going to win. Everybody's talking about purpose, just like the DJ started the day. Purpose matters because when there's a sense of purpose, people change. And people have been telling me, you need to eat more vegetables and all these things. I've been hearing those things, but not real big on vegetables. And then 7 months ago, I had a grandson. I'm eating vegetables like crazy now because I want to live for that boy. My father didn't get to see his grandkids. I want to see mine. So purpose matters. It's purpose that can change behavior, not compensation, not a lecture, not holding someone accountable. Behavioral change comes when your purpose changes, just like the caterpillar, which its purpose is to eat. It goes in the chrysalis. When it comes out, it's completely rewired. All of its organisms are completely rewired. It has no memory of its life as a caterpillar when it becomes a butterfly. I believe this is kind of what we have to do in terms of the past. We can't erase it all, shouldn't erase it all, but we got to move on and think about how we can connect, learn from the past 2 years, and move forward in a different way. There are companies who are like, well, we can't hire Black people because there's none in Vermont, who are now hiring Black people because they can work remotely. A huge breakthrough through a tragedy to find out, hey, we can get great talent anywhere now. Well, this is a breakthrough, and I feel part of the great transformation. How can we rewire our brain? It takes humility. If you know everything, if you're certain that you're right, that's problematic. There can't be pluralism if you know everything and you're sure that you're right and you're wrong and I need to change you. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work. So it starts with this sense of humility. It starts with us being grounded, being self-reflective, and thinking about how can we change. It's not like, well, why do I have to change? They need to change. Both are true. Both are true. It starts with the ability to listen, to hear people with an empty mind, to know that, yes, I have a point of view, but am I willing to suspend it? Am I willing to alter my point of view based on what another person is saying? Because we are the same. But if we just concentrate on that, the path forward is cloudy. We are different. But if we just focus on that, the path forward is cloudy. The mathematical fact is less sameness equals more ideas and more potential. This is the future of work. This is how companies are going to win as we move forward now, as we've tapped out this same old way, same old people type of business model that's got us in the situation that needs a conference like today. There's less sameness. We won't need a conference like today. We'll be talking about other things. But this is our current dilemma and yet the current opportunity. The definition of intelligence is being able to hold two opposing ideas at the same time. We have to be able to hold sameness and difference at the same time. It's going to require bold action like today. And the reason that you gather here, because you want something different. And this obligation that we have to each other as working people to make sure that things are equitable and fair. We know, that's why you came here, the power that this has for communities and society. And we have to break the old frame and the old way of doing business. We have to be curious. When we meet somebody, we want to engage in a conversation with them to learn about them, to learn about their experiences. Yeah, they have a college degree, but what else have they done? Because it really doesn't matter. I run a company. I don't know who has a degree and who doesn't because I just frankly don't care. I know Carrie has one, but beyond that, I really don't care. I want people who have found a way to win no matter what. Sure, the playing field's unlevel. That's a lifetime's experience. Got to find a way to win no matter what. Those people are worth more than people. I'm not knocking a college degree, Mills. Okay, but there's a grit that's required to be great, especially in this complex world. The stakes are high. We've seen this before. When there's anarchy, dictatorships, just like we have going on in the world right now in from Russia attacking the Ukraine, democracy wins. It'll prevail here too. We've had situations where the stock market's at an all-time high, while the homeless populations in camps are just growing at the same rate. We have trouble not only across borders, but within borders. We have a government doing what it can, but every 4 years things change and we seem to take a step backwards. So it's up to us. That's the key. It's up to us and organizations. So if you have a purpose, I know you do. That's why you came to the Great Awakening. You believe you can only do great things with other people. You see the world not for what it is, but for what it can be. If you believe in making money, if you're business people, I hope you do. and know that you can make progress too, then you have what it takes to be great. This is the great transformation, because less sameness equals more ideas and more potential. This math will always win the day. Here's my LinkedIn. Happy to see you there. We've got our research there for free. You've got a great lineup ahead of you of remarkable people that are going to fill your mind if you empty it. You got to fill your mind with new things if you empty it. So I'm enjoying my time with you today. Big fan of Mills, big fan of Carrie, and big fan of all of you, because you're all doing the same thing I'm trying to do: change this world because it needs it, and change is going to come. Take care.